Quentin Tarantino's ninth movie, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, offers itself for a great deal of deconstruction. Tarantino is known for his unique voice and style when it comes to filmmaking, and this is no exception. The film is somewhat metafiction and tells the story of a fantasy version of Hollywood. It feels like the Hollywood that Tarantino witnessed growing up, observing it with wonder and intrigue. Whilst the film deals with some of the behind-the-scenes aspects of the Hollywood film industry, I feel that this movie acknowledges the unsung heroes of the film industry and highlights that these people's efforts, no matter how great, are still ignored. That is, of the stuntmen. In Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Leonardo DiCaprio plays an out-of-work actor named Rick Dalton, who is accompanied by his stunt double and friend Cliff Booth, played by Brad Pitt. The film presents Dalton as a has-been out-of-work actor, out of his depth in the new age of Hollywood. Whilst the film does go into depth about the other meta aspects of filmmaking, the movie highlights the incompetence of the Hollywood star who gains all the glory. Despite being a washed-up actor doing guest-starring TV roles in popular TV shows, Rick Dalton still has a life of luxury and is still insecure about it. He has a house in the Hollywood Hills, even living next door to director Roman Polanski and actress Sharon Tate. It is revealed that Dalton has also lost his driving license through drink driving and uses his stuntman Cliff Booth as a driver. Booth certainly doesn't appear to resent Dalton in any way, but their lives are completely different. After leaving Dalton for the day and returning home, we see Booth lives in terrible conditions, living in a small trailer behind a drive-in movie theatre with his dog. His home is messy, cupboards are bare. He is no way as insecure as Dalton is. Booth is also shown to be a highly competent fighter in the movie. He even takes on Bruce Lee and owns him in the fight. This actually caused some controversy from Bruce Lee's family. Tarantino, however, did defend this quite easily.
I don't think I make Bruce Lee look that bad. I will admit I'm having a little bit of fun at his expense, all right? I will admit that. There's a touch of parody in there. However, at the same time, Bruce Lee was kind of an arrogant guy. I mean, what I was, the way he was talking is I didn't just make a lot of that up. I'd heard him say things like that to that effect. And even the thing, people are saying, well, he never said he could beat up Muhammad Ali. Yeah, he did, all right? Not only did he say that, his wife, Linda Lee, said that. In the first biography I ever read was Linda Lee's Bruce Lee, the Man Only I Knew, and she absolutely said it. And but the thing about it, though, is, one, Cliff, could Cliff beat up Bruce Lee? Okay, Brad would not be able to beat up Bruce Lee, but Cliff maybe could, all right? If you ask me the question, it's like, okay, well, who would win in a fight, Bruce Lee or Dracula? It's the same question. It's a fictional character. If I say Cliff could beat Bruce Lee up, he's a fictional character, then he could beat Bruce Lee up.
Tarantino's comments are clear. The film is a fantasy. Cliff Booth is a fictitious character. This is a fairy tale. The film is called Once Upon a Time in Hollywood after all. Despite this, he still garnered criticism for the character's abilities. It highlights my analysis that he is an unsung hero. Bruce Lee is a big star and a great martial artist. Despite this, people got upset over the abilities of a fictitious stuntman being able to take him on. This does show a lack of respect for stuntmen in general. The action sequences in the movies aren't carried out by the Hollywood star, but by someone else. And despite the stuntmen putting their lives on the line to shoot an action sequence, it isn't them who gets the glory, it is the actor. There is also a great deal done in the film to make, or at least suggest, that Cliff Booth is not a good guy. He is said to have killed his wife, though it is ruled as an accident. Everyone on set judges him for this. He is even fired from the set despite Dalton's defence of his friend. This is a clear reference to the case involving Natalie Wood and Robert Wagner, a meta-reference of a real-life Hollywood story. It is also shown that Cliff Booth has a thing for younger women. Despite his reluctance to engage with Margaret Qualley's Pussycat, who we find out is under the age of 18, he is perfectly happy to gaze at her, flirt with her, and even giving her a lift in his car. In some ways, Booth is being vilified in the movie by the others around him, but I think this is more to do with the lack of consequences for bigger stars. Whereas Hollywood stars seem to get away with sleaze and debauchery, someone not in the spotlight is held to the normal standard. We do see Booth risking his life in the film. When he attends the Spahn ranch, he believes that something is wrong. The Manson family are taking advantage of George Spahn, the owner of the ranch, who Cliff knows when he filmed westerns the previous decade. The scenes contain a great deal of tension, and what we know as the audience about the Manson family is that they were dangerous. But Booth proceeds anyway. He knows something is up, and we know he can handle himself. He is potentially putting himself in harm's way, but this is what he does as a stuntman when he works. Dalton would not be brave enough to do this. He is only an actor. He only pretends to be the hero. He isn't one. Another scene that sticks out is when Booth fixes the antenna on Rick Dalton's roof. This scene shows off his stuntman skills. He climbs the roof like a ninja. In the scene, he is also shirtless and in great shape. This is another way that highlights the stuntman's strength and skills. This is clearly something Dalton lacks in the movie. Booth is said to have been a World War II hero and veteran. Rick Dalton portrays a World War II hero in the in-universe movie The 14 Fists of McCluskey, which is somewhat a homage to Tarantino's Inglourious Bastards. There is a scene where Dalton is confused at how to use the flamethrower. He portrays this character as a competent war hero on the big screen, but in real life he doesn't have a clue what he is doing. He is nothing like Cliff Booth. He is incompetent. In this next part I will be talking about the end of the movie, so major spoilers ahead. If you have not yet seen the movie and don't want it spoilt for you, please leave now. In the final act of the movie, Dalton has a comeback in his career. He has gone to Europe to film spaghetti westerns, and this has made him relevant again, but despite his improved fortunes, he is cutting Booth loose. It appears there's no animosity between the two friends, and they go out and celebrate, getting very drunk and returning to Dalton's home in the Hollywood Hills. The two reminisce about old times and even watch some of the films they've starred in and TV shows together. In real life, we know the fate of Sharon Tate, her unborn child, and her friends. It is a real horrific story. Charles Manson ordered the followers to go to the house Tate lived in and kill everyone inside in a most gruesome way. That is what happened in the real world, but this is once upon a time in Hollywood. Throughout the movie, Dalton opposes the hippies of the 60s and confronts the Manson family killers before they get a chance to murder Tate. Dalton goes off at them very aggressively and causes the killers to change their target. When Dalton returns into his house, he is followed by the Manson family a few minutes later. They will now kill Rick Dalton. Dalton's actions cause them to target him instead. Yet it isn't really Dalton, the Hollywood star, who needs to deal with the consequences of his actions. That will be up to his stuntman Cliff Booth. Once again, Booth must risk his life in order to protect Dalton, the same way he does on the film sets. Booth is able to dispatch the attackers in a most violent way. This is despite also taking an injury of a knife to the hip. In a callback to earlier, Dalton dispatches one of the attackers with the flamethrower he kept from the set of the 14 Fists of McCluskey. Despite this, she is already defeated and is not really a threat to him at all. Dalton simply goes in to dispatch an enemy who really will cause him no harm whatsoever. In the aftermath, Dalton is certainly grateful for the protection from the assailants that Cliff Booth has provided. Booth is the one who defeated the bad guys in this scenario, really. Booth is sent off to the hospital for his injury, and the police on scene praise Dalton for dispatching the attacker with his iconic flamethrower. In the change of historical events, Dalton is invited to go hang out with Sharon Tate and her other guests, getting all the praise for somewhat saving them, and gets closer to what he considers Hollywood royalty. He wrongfully takes the credit for the heroic actions of Cliff Booth, but this is the nature of being an actor. They get the praise, they are adored, not the stuntmen. Finally, to top it all off, Brad Pitt actually won the Oscar for Best Supporting Actor for his role in this movie. Whilst I am sure he is thrilled to have finally won, I don't think it is a coincidence that the character he plays, despite an equal lead to DiCaprio's Rick Dalton, was only nominated in the Best Supporting Actor category. Though DiCaprio was nominated for the leading role, he didn't ultimately win. Brad Pitt did for the supporting role of Cliff Booth.
Leo, I'll ride on your coattails any day, man. The view's fantastic. And to the rest of the cast and crew, Big Bad Bob Richardson, Robert Garcia, Richie, my man Mike Moe. Hey, I also want to say, while we're doing all this, I think it's time we give a little love to our stunt coordinators and our stunt crews.
Notably, at the start of the movie, the actors' names are on the opposite actor during the opening sequence. Perhaps this is to somewhat highlight that they are almost one in the same. In the contained universe of the story, both Dalton and Booth make up the characters they portray on screen. It is as much as Booth's work that is in Dalton's, yet it is Dalton who gets the praise and the credit. I don't think that Tarantino is necessarily openly criticising the lack of acclaim that those who do stunt work get in the movie industry. I believe he is simply pointing out that the fantasy we observe when watching these movies is made up of many people and not just the actors. So what do you think about Cliff Booth being an unsung hero of this movie? Is Tarantino actually commenting on the lack of acclaim that stunt people get in the movie industry? Please let me know in the comments below, please subscribe and click the bell icon, and thanks for tuning in.